I'm not hearing anything.
Maybe you could give her a hand mic so we can hear her.
For the people online? Okay. I was just going to make a treat for the people here. Yeah. Okay? Sorry. Okay. This was a treat for the people in person. Okay. And then what they do is, as you go, so I, His Holiness is one of my teachers, so I, just bowed my head and I said, because I hadn't seen His Holiness in person, it's so long. It's one of my teachers, I just was so blown out. I wanted to go to a teaching, but he's not teaching as much. And his attendants don't want him to do the public talks. They want him to rest, but he insists because he wants to connect with people. So it's just beautiful, and it was hard to see him aging, because I hadn't seen him. I've seen him online and looked at all the video, the teachings. So then I went, and I wanted to just thank him and I said, thank you. I want to thank His Holiness for guiding the FPMT, our organization, to find the authentic reincarnation of Lama Zopa Rinpoche, of Kabji Lama Zopa Rinpoche, because His Holiness is involved. And so then they stopped me, and I think they were a little bit like, she's one of the family, okay, well. And then they translated that to His Holiness, and then I got an extra bunk on my head. So now they have, because you cannot bring a phone, and everyone wants photos, so they have two guys with cameras. So 2 angles of cameras, this side and this side, okay? And so I couldn't believe, but anyway, you don't notice them taking photos, but I was just, because you're focused on His Holiness, so I was so like, and then you walk past, and first you have your kata, your offering, back here. So they do that back here, and you walk past, they give you a long blessing string, then they give you an envelope, and the envelope has Tibetan medicine in it. It has some mani pills, but it also has another type of pill with full-on beautiful instructions of what they're giving you and how you use them. So organized. And then they give you an apple. And then I floated off back down the hill. Like, it was just the highlight of my year. It was amazing. So then 2 hours later, they send you an email with just your photos. So because I was in front of him so long, and I'll just show you, you can kind of pass through, these were, anyway, I was just gonna, some of the photos, and you can pass it around. So I'm boasting, okay. But now I'm gonna make some frustrations, and you can page through some of them because there's like 8 of them they sent me. So sweet. Look at this beautiful gompa. So I'd like to make frustrations before I start. You're welcome to join me if you'd like to do. You're not obligated to do, but to show our respect for Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, and for the teachings. Thank you. Did it, oh, you could have made frustrations with me. Did it make it around? Yeah, I was going to say, and I realize now, everyone probably has a cold now, I'm going to get a cold. But there's a terrible flu going around, that many people have that I know right now. Anyway. Okay. Thank you so much. Please sit down. This one's for you. There's the mute. Just slide it down.
There should be some notepads in there. Give it to me.
Thank you. Is that working well? Okay, great. And sorry, can I ask? Oh, you do? Can you just spray it on and give it a? Because I'm really trying not to get sick. I can't really get sick right now. So, thank you so much. Anyway, I was really fortunate, and it gives you some incentive to, maybe make a trip to Dharamsala. And the nice thing about it was, I did live there from time to time. Thank you so much. I did live there from time to time, and it was a place, because His Holiness lived there, many lamas set up there, and there's monasteries and nunneries, and we have a beautiful center above the town, and so a lot of these very old lamas have passed away. Thank you so much. So but the thing is, what's neat is there are still holy beings there that you can go visit. And I felt a little bit in the West for a long time, and because we were all kind of anchored down with COVID, and we're a little bit past that now, but personally for me, I was missing that, to see these high-level beings, and it was nice to go and visit and make offerings to them and spend a little time when it was appropriate, and some of them were giving teachings and like that. So I also had the great fortune to visit Jetsunma Tenzin Palmo, if you're familiar with the English nun. So she lives like a couple-hour drive away, an hour-and-a-half drive from Dharamsala, and I specifically made an appointment with her. She doesn't teach very much anymore. She's about 80, 81 now, but completely vibrant, and she has a nunnery that she's built, and it's very impressive. So I was there 10 years ago when it was under construction, but she's created this pure realm of this nunnery, and I was very grateful to see her and see how beautiful for these Tibetan nuns what she's created. So especially for a Western nun, it's very helpful in a Western practitioner to see what's possible. And I think she's making retreat rooms now available for some Western women that can do retreat there part-time like that. And she has another group of Tibetan nuns that are in long-term retreat that she visits every 2 weeks to inspire them. So it's just beautiful. So that was lovely. And I think sometimes if you have the inclination to travel and have the funds to travel, it can be worthwhile to visit holy places like that, and you get inspired in a different way. There's also lots of shrines and monks, and like there's a sea of maroon there. I feel great because everybody looks like me. And it's just inspiring that, but there's a lot of Buddhist practitioners and people, serious study programs are going on like that. So it's very kind of different than our world here in a way, and so you can get inspired a different way. And we would go there and at one point there was like a Dharma circuit. So you would be in Dharamsala studying, and His Holiness would be teaching. There were often spring teachings, there's autumn teachings. His Holiness still does some teachings. At that time, they're shorter, but there were teachings, and then people would do retreat on what they were taught and different deity practices. And then when your visa ran out, you would go to Nepal, and then you'd do again, and everything would move to Nepal, and then when that visa ran out, you go back to India. So some of us were doing that for on and off like that, and then we would come back, and then that's how some of our centers got started, from students like that were doing that. So thank you very much. Thank you for coming. So let's start with some meditation.
Venerable Amy.
And
We were hoping to offer a mandala. Should we do that now or wait till after meditation?
Maybe we do just quickly.
Okay.
We do quickly. And I also wanted to say thank you so much for joining online. For the people online as well, please, some of the centers mention this, but Dharma etiquette, like to think that you are in a gompa as well. So it's nice you got your cameras on. Some centers insist you have your camera on because sometimes I've been teaching online and sometimes people don't know and I see them having their dinner while you're teaching and having a glass of wine, so those kind of things aren't really appropriate. So thank you for showing up. It's nice to see all of you.
And our dear chant master, Donna Cease, is home not feeling well. Venerable Chetzel, are you able to chant mandala offering?
I can do a quick.
Okay.
And Peter, I haven't seen you in ages. Lovely to see you. We had a nice group on Saturday mornings. We were doing some practice. Oh, Saji, Pugi, Jujin, Meto. Oh, we'll do a little longer, then it takes. Oh, Saji, Pugi, Jujin, Meto, Tramri, Rap, Lingzi, Ni, Degen, Padi, Sange, Jindu, Mikde, O Wagi, Drokunam, Danjin La, Chumarjon, Idam Guru Radna Mandalaka Niratayami. Thank you very much. No problem. Thank you so much. Lovely to see you. Thank you very much. So the mandala offering is a ritual making the teaching happen, requesting the teaching to happen. It's very sweet, actually, that the center does it. It's very good for the center. And it would be nice, like, if you learn, so it's in the prayer books, the mandala offering. You tell them, open to this prayer, this practice. Somebody, you have a chant leader, and you open, so then everybody learns it. It's easy to learn. You can do it in English as well. And then they're offering body, speech, and mind is what those symbols mean, like that. So the other thing is, when you're offering you have a long kata you start with to hold everything, like that. It's kind of auspicious offering. And then you start with the one that had the 4 towers on it that represents the world system mandala, like world system, 4 continents, like that. And then the next thing you offer is body, speech, and mind. So the statue of the Buddha represents body, and the text represents speech, and the little stupa represents mind. So the mandala, the 4-towered mandala representing the world system, is offered from the heart. So as the offerer, you hold it at your heart, and you try to think of the most exquisite world systems that you can offer, infinite, of the finest quality, and you offer from your heart. And the other 3, body, speech, and mind, get offered from your crown. So you hold them to your crown, and you offer, So I just wanted to give you, just a little tutorial, okay? Short tutorial. Okay. So do you have some prayers you do before?
Yeah, and your gold prayer book is in your table if you need it, but we usually start with refuge and bodhicitta, 4 immeasurables, 7 limb. Does that sound okay?
Great. That's great.
Let me just get the screen up to share.
So another thing is, for those of you that have been practicing a little bit, and again, this is all optional, when you do these prayers, especially refuge, bodhicitta, 7 limbs, you can put your hands in mudra of prostration. It's more beneficial for you to think like you're in front of holy beings. Rinpoche says if you just walk into a room, there's images of Buddhas, you put your hands like this, incredible merit for you, for your mind, for your path. Like that, something to think about.
So it's page 34 in the Gold Prayer Book. Do you want me to leave? I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my practice of giving and other perfections, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my practice of giving and other perfections, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my practice of giving and other perfections, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. And then the four immeasurables just under that.
And really think about the words you're saying. We don't want to blah, blah. We really want to think about what the meaning of these words. Very powerful prayers.
May all sentient beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all sentient beings be inseparable from the happiness that is free from suffering. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from attachment for friends and hatred for enemies.
So that prayer, I mentioned this before, I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself, that prayer in Tibetan is at the end of a film called The Return of the Jedi. If you're a Star Wars fan, George Lucas is a Buddhist. So he included a lot of Buddhist imagery, a lot of Buddhist ideas and concepts, but clear as day you can hear them, the Ewoks chanting, some chant and Jay Dewa Dang. So that goes out commercially to all the beings that saw that film, get an imprint of the four immeasurables in their mind. It's immeasurable, that prayer is immeasurable, not that you're only sending out, this is what it represents. May all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. That's immeasurable love. Okay, and then you have immeasurable compassion, immeasurable joy, immeasurable equanimity. That's the order we read it in, okay? So you don't want to limit those wishes for people, those wishes. And the other thing, it's immeasurable based on, you're sending it to countless beings, countless beings. You don't want to limit the beings, you know, we want to limit a little bit now, don't we? Right? We're in a very funny time right now. So we want to limit, I'm only going to send my happiness out to the people, these people that I like, right? So no, this is all living beings. Numerous. Like don't have your heart limited in a way. It's just everybody needs love and joy and happiness and compassion. That. 7-limb prayer.
Oh, that's page 35 in the Gold Prayer Book. Reverently I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind. I present clouds of every type of offering, actual and imagined. I declare all my negative actions accumulated since beginningless time, and rejoice in the merit of all holy and ordinary beings.
So wait, pause for a moment, and rejoice. Okay, and rejoicing, easiest way for you to accumulate merit or positive conditions. Easiest way, rejoice. You hear that people are in Bodh Gaya now. That's the season, the winter season, making 100,000 prostrations. You're just sitting here on your butt and you rejoice. You get merit for doing that. You hear these people are helping the center. Somebody's doing this. You rejoice. You know, and it also uplifts your heart, rejoicing. You know, we're very good at complaining, aren't we? That's the opposite of rejoicing. Westerners' thing is, we complain. We complain over and over. Okay? So it's the opposite, is really lifting up the heart and how fantastic. There's always a positive spin on everything. There's always a positive spin. So rejoicing is fantastic. Thank you.
Please remain until the end of cyclic existence and turn the wheel of Dharma for living beings. I dedicate my own merits and those of all others to the great enlightenment.
So just think for a moment as we begin and we sit here, think for a moment of who you would like to bring here as well in your heart. someone who could not be here right now. And it could be someone maybe you've lost recently, the pain of that grief. It could be someone you know who is really, really struggling right now. Or someone you're so delighted with, you just like to bring them, dedicate this time to all of them. Just take a moment, place that person in your heart. And we could also think of all the living beings around the planet, many, many of whom are suffering so much more than we are. Just imagining as if we could bring them into this space with us, bringing them in to our good fortune, sharing that with all of them. And think about your purpose for being here right now and what you may want to get from this evening or this weekend. What would be most helpful? And think about if what you can come out of this time with, can it help you deepen your path, perhaps your practice, or helping you establish a consistent practice? Maybe just helping you understand a little bit more about meditation, the benefits of that, incorporating a little bit of that into your life as much as you can. And think about all of this moving you along a path to enlightenment, to full awakening. To Buddhahood. Because as a Buddha, which simply means fully awakened being, you can then help all beings perfectly. You know exactly what to say to someone at any given time, and it's the right thing. It's the best thing. Best thing to think about people at any given time, to think about anything, to act from there. Every moment you breathe comes from that motivation. People are divided, you might say now, conflicted, fearful, angry, and every moment you know how to proceed and how to act perfectly. Every moment. You're balanced, you're spacious, and believe it or not, regardless of what is happening around you, you're blissful all the time. You're aware of the suffering, but it doesn't topple you. That's a Buddha mind. So take a moment right now, feeling in your heart, or setting a motivation that moves you to that place eventually moves you to that place where you can perfectly help all beings. Think about that as a motivation if you like. Or at the very least, putting your mind in a positive place. Take a moment, set that motivation. And simply now bring your mind to your breath, our basic awareness. And if you're in a chair, absolutely fine to meditate. Sitting in a chair, have your feet straight down, flat on the floor. Balance your body. And here's a twist. Try not to lean too heavily against the back of the chair. Your back will become strong over time. Head is slightly tipped forward, but relax. The shoulders are down, not up by the ears, relaxed. Eyes are lightly closed or slightly opened. Focus towards the tip of the nose or the floor in the space in front of you. A normal, natural breath is moving through your system. Follow that breath, basic inhalation. Notice the expansion of the lungs, shifting of the abdomen, and upon an exhalation, the contraction and the air up and out through the nostrils. And the lips are lightly together, the teeth are slightly apart. But check that the jaw is relaxed, that the forehead is not knotted, very relaxed. Take a moment now from the top of your head. Take a minute or two to scan down through your whole body, releasing any tension you find you're holding. As you use that breath, the inhalation opens up space in the tension. The exhalation, you release that tension, a little bit more, and go all the way down out your feet and toes. And then just bring your awareness again to a normal, natural breath. Focusing your attention there, the air just outside the nostrils where the air enters in and leaves the body. But the mind will walk off of that and follow a distraction. It's very normal. Try not to get discouraged. Just simply be aware, and then you bring your mind back to the breath. That is meditation. Try your best. If it helps you to stay focused, you can count your breaths. It's a standard way many of us know that one inhalation, one exhalation counts as one. See how far you can count before the mind wanders. You just become aware, bring your mind back to the breath if you get distracted, and you begin counting again at one. So please relax, and when you're ready, slowly open your eyes. And I just wanted just to acknowledge somebody, Venerable Chutso, are you in the North Carolina area?
Yeah, I live about an hour away. I'll be in tomorrow morning, so I'll get to
Oh,
meet.
great. It's lovely to see you. We have a nun online. Very nice to see. Thank you. Lovely. It would be lovely to see you. And Don, are we going to get you all weekend?
Yes.
Okay. And it's lovely to see the rest of you. Thank you for joining. Andre, am I going to see you in person? Great. No, it's nice to see everybody. Wonderful. Thank you. So this is, I think it was titled Mindfulness, Self-Compassion, Making Life Meaningful. Is that correct? Okay.
Something like
Or-
that. Self-compassion, mindfulness, and meditation techniques for difficult times or challenging
Okay.
times.
So is anybody here challenged right now? Yep. Okay. So people say it's yes, and those online as well. So people say this, and then again, we're on a path to not only to Buddhahood, but we're on a path. The essence of the Mahayana tradition, the foundation of it is that you want to help as many beings as possible. That's really it. That's Tibetan Buddhism. That is the Mahayana tradition. Mahayana, Maha, greater Yana vehicle. Okay, universal vehicle. We're here to help everybody. Okay, not excluding anyone. Okay, and then you think you have a problem with somebody and the way they're manifesting. Okay, so it's amazing how many messages there are coming to you all the time from the universe. So today I had to get a ride to the airport. I live outside Philadelphia. I don't have anybody to drive me to the airport. I live by myself right now. And when I'm there part of the year, and I call, I use one of these apps. Okay, so there's the guy taking me. These people that drive for these companies, they're so interesting. I've had so many interesting conversations with these people, learned so much in the Philadelphia area. So this guy was from Jamaica, and we, by the 20-minute ride to the airport, we had it all sorted, the two of us. He was very spiritual, but it's very interesting how, and then he said to me, he said, this is all illusion. Totally had it. So again, for me, it's like the guru coming in the form of an Uber driver, right? There's messages all the time of, it's how do we want to use it? So sometimes we see a certain projection, an image on your phone, on the news, on your phone, or a certain streaming thing you look at or a website you go to get certain information, and then there's a part of your mind that says, I don't like this. I don't like this. Okay? So when we do go back into this is really all illusion, and Rinpoche's main teaching, Lama Zopa Rinpoche, of his, especially the last 5-10 years, strongly, his teachings would always emphasize it would go off in a certain direction at times. But for me, the last 5 to 10 years, he always has death and impermanence, emptiness, bodhicitta, okay. But it was everything comes from the mind. Everything comes from the mind. It's projected from your mind, that external reality. So right now, you go, well, wow, this is strong, or this particular manifestation. Can you take the ownership and responsibility that it might be coming from my mind, because some people in the world are happy with what's going on externally, right? So is it really out there, or could it be karmic seeds bubbling up in my consciousness that project and cause me to experience a certain external reality? That's what Buddhism says, right? And the taxi driver really got it right, This is all illusion. So can you dance with the illusion, meaning practically we have to show up and take care of our lives. You can't just step in front of the bus. Doesn't matter, it's an illusion. It will kill you. So you practically engage, you pay your mortgage, take care of your kids, you're kind to people in the shops, but the main thing is, can you get your practice oriented? So you're not so swayed by that external thing, and then you act and you can do whatever you feel is the most beneficial way for you to be. Whether you like this particular thing or you don't like this particular thing. Does that make sense? And I'll keep saying that, I'll keep talking about it, because we have to keep reminding ourselves. And then you have this wonderful center here, Kadampa Center, and you have a wonderful community, people, and I've been coming here for years and I love it. People are wonderful, right? And very beautiful center, well organized, 2 geshis, it's fantastic. It's one of our stronger centers, I really rejoice. And some of the retreats you've hosted and things like that. And I forgot to mention, I was talking to David and Elise tonight, I was staying with, when the flood came at the end of monsoon flood in Nepal that we experienced in Nepal, late September, 250 people died, but the hurricane went through here. You had a hurricane went through Georgia and took out the center where you used to host the retreat. So some of you are very aware of that because Kadampa Center used to use that YMCA. And I after my retreat, I was looking at photos of it, of how devastated, and our dining room had water up to the tables. You know, I remember things like that. So things affect so much, but you have this wonderful center. So when you have the community, it's about reminding each other of the truth, of what's important when you get freaked out. And that's for everything. It doesn't mean who's in politics now or who's the president, but when your kid gets sick, you know, when your partner dies, when you lose your job, that's when you want the community to go, like, we're here for you, I'm so sorry, samsara sucks, and let's also orient it with a good practice, you know, and we'll help you do the practices you want to do for somebody who dies, and we'll be there for you, and we'll bring you food, and that's what we do, you know, and we're going to keep doing it. As a Tibetan Buddhist, I want to keep showing up to help people. So whatever they might need, everybody needs something a little different, like that, but that's what these kind of communities do. So can you keep that in the forefront? Okay, because that's part of this whole trajectory, how to keep yourself balanced, spacious. Okay, and we want to become a Buddha. That means, again, fully awakened being. So I want to be as awake as possible. I want to remind myself about being awake, because that's where I'm headed, right? But a lot of us are sleeping now. We're not that fully awake. Imagine when and you know those days you wake up, and I was just teaching in New York, and the person hosting me, he's so funny. It's just so sweet, this guy, that such a huge help to the center. But when in the morning when I come downstairs and he's always, you know, people always say, "How did you sleep?" First thing, and I'm not a big sleeper. I don't sleep that much, and I don't sleep that well anymore. It's all changed. But he'd always ask me, and then he'd tell me about his sleep. And you know, it's always like a big focus. But sometimes, you know, you're sleeping, so when you wake up in the morning, and sometimes the sleep, you're so in a coma, and you wake up in the morning, and you're not that awake. You know, it takes. So think about this: of each moment, can you engage in, number one, the bodhicitta motivation? How can I help this other? What's the other person's experience? Okay, that keeps the mind more buoyant. That keeps you less fear and less suffering. What's their experience? How can I help this person? Am I seeing this person first rather than what I need? It's so hard to get that one going. You know, because just general delusion in the mind, it's all about me, what I need, what I want. So do that exercise this weekend. Tonight, that's your exercise tonight, is you're turning the thing. I don't care if you live alone. Some of you are driving home. How do you want to drive again, we've talked before about being a bodhisattva warrior. Bodhisattva warrior. You know, so how do I want to drive on the road? And some of you know aggressive drivers. Anyone here an aggressive driver? Right? No one wants to own that, okay? But when I'm with an aggressive driver, I'm the passenger in the car, it's not comfortable for me and I hear them cursing and yell, what's your problem? People are driving. People make mistakes when they're driving. They're not paying attention. So why do we get angry? Why do we have to get angry at them? We're all in this together, right? So just think about, what's their experience? What's happening for them? Sometimes it's inconvenient the way people drive, but this is your exercise for this weekend too. Well, there'll be other exercises. But we have to get that motivation happening. It's about other people. That's our job. It's about other people. It's about others. But in the process, we have to take care of ourselves. So you find a balance to do it. You find a balance. It's our job. So again, and then basic mindfulness. So we start the meditation, very basic meditation I led. Most of you already have that going. Basic meditation. Can you get a meditation practice going every day or several days a week? Okay. And fit it in wherever it is in your life that it works. If you need to get up a little bit earlier before you start work, then get up a little earlier. Again, I've talked about this before, finding a conducive place, consistent in your home, that is inviting. It doesn't have to be some elaborate altar, but a place not trafficked, heavily trafficked, not where you have to keep moving the cushion, the chair, that you feel that it's inviting. I want to sit down because it's a quiet, peaceful space for me where I do my work. And what I mean by the work is you come in from a busy day, and then you went on the news and you looked on your phone and you saw this horrible story about something, and that made you feel worse. And then you got a call from a friend that they're sick. And then you have a call from another friend that the fun dinner you were going to go to, they canceled. And these are things that happen. And so suddenly your mind headed downhill. Okay, so those things happen all the time. But that's when I go back to my space, my cushion, my meditation space. I'm just going to sit. You had a bad day at work. Something didn't go well. You hate your boss. Okay? Back on the cushion. And you start analyzing. First, you just want to be with your mind a little bit. The breathing meditation we just did. Okay? But here's the thing, the breathing meditation. I know you've heard this before. Okay? When you sit down on the cushion or a chair, you can use a chair. Absolutely fine to meditate in a chair, okay? But have a good position for the chair. You're not slouched, you're not lying. When you lie down, you go to sleep. It's not the best position for meditation, okay? But in the chair, you can get used to it. Put a cushion under. Some people put a cushion under their feet. That's smart, because chairs are kind of built for people 11 feet tall. So you want to position, feet flat on the floor, feel the groundedness. Feel the body balanced. You don't have to lean so heavily. You want to have the body upright, straight. And then the other thing is relax yourself when you do it. You can't jump down onto your cushion or onto the seat and now I'm going to meditate. Let this tension ease out of you. Like I said, 1 to 2 minutes, relax. Scan your body and relax. Then the meditation comes organically. Then it comes organically. And then you just notice, slowly. Sometimes it's nice to start with the breath. That's a standard jumping off point. Start with the breath. And the mind's going to go over here. Back to the breath, just quiet. Just, now over there. And you watch all those thoughts bubble up. I hate him. I can't believe they're doing this. Oh my God. I'm going to lose my health insurance. There's so many things going on for people. I don't have enough money to do this. What are you going to do? It's also funny on a tangent. So I'm back to being a touring teacher a lot. I'm out of the country about half the year. Not a bad time to be out of the country, huh? Right? Okay. But the world is the world too. It's not like it's perfect out there. Not perfect in some other country, but I will say, because I'm been invited a lot to teach in Europe. So a couple places in Europe, France and the Netherlands, where I teach a fair amount, have probably, I think, I don't know all the healthcare systems in the world, probably 2 of the best healthcare systems in the world. So the Dutch now are paying $150 a month for their health insurance, which, when that started, that was a big deal. It used to be free. But $150 a month, and I said to them, that's a very good deal, right? And then I come back to the States where I do most of my health stuff because I'm a US citizen and have the insurance here. And I've been having to do these appointments before I leave the country again, which is soon, to get them in. And I'm in a new state, so all of that had to start over with new medical people, and and it's a journey, as we know. So each place I go, the people are incredibly kind, I notice. They're really pretty kind. But every single one of them so far, doctors, the aides that help the doctors, the people at the front desk, I talked to somebody in a business division at one point, a woman who took my blood at one point. They all acknowledge, every single one of them has acknowledged that our medical system is broken. And nobody's really doing much about it. Like, it's interesting how they didn't used to acknowledge before. The doctors didn't used to say, now the doctors say, they're all in it. We're all in it together, right? It's so interesting for such a rich country. It's so sad. But this is, again, and I look at it and I go, this is my mind. This is the karma, whatever got created, that I was born in this country to have a system like this that doesn't quite work and provide decent health care for everybody, like that. So, but again, because I was born in this country, I have some incredible advantages, right? Incredible advantages to be holding a US passport. Amazing. All the places we can visit, all the things that we can do. And I'd say just from we in this room and on Zoom, in our Zoom room, all of us, I don't know all your stories, obviously, but I think we have a pretty good situation like that. Pretty fortunate. Just to be, you could even say just to be sitting upright, to be in the morning, that succulent thing, we've done that before, of when I wake up in the morning, those first few minutes of waking up, don't waste that time. I have incredible rejoicing of like my precious human rebirth, like, wow, I can move my body in a decent way and my mind seems to be functioning. That's a luxury for a lot of people on the planet, right? So do you ever take a moment to feel that? That's your exercise tomorrow morning when you wake up. Another exercise. These are techniques, but I'm not kidding. I do this every day. I've been doing it for years. I don't wake up with a groan like, oh, I know people that wake up that way. Oh, another day. Are you kidding? You get another day of your precious human rebirth. Okay. So we need to kind of ignite it so we're using it. So that we're using it. And then you feel better and you're happier, regardless of what's going on. Okay? So important. Okay? But have that. Make a note for yourself, and make a note before you go to bed. Put a note next to the bed or on the bathroom mirror. Consider, like, you might be already in the bathroom, standing up. Appreciation, gratitude, set a motivation. Right there. Don't wait. Like, get it going right there. You're in bed. Most of you don't get out of bed right away when the alarm goes off. You don't get out of bed right away, even if you wake up naturally. Use that time. You can recite some mantras, again, but that rejoicing at your precious human rebirth, the appreciation of that precious human rebirth, it's amazing what we have right now. And it's going to be gone soon. You're going to be in some other trajectory, out of control, like that. So look at what we've got right now. Incredible. So there's always a positive side. There's always a positive side. I recently talked to somebody in New York that they were saying, and his belief was, and there's people that aren't really that worried about what's going on right now. And he said, yeah, things have been bad before, and then what happens is the surprise to everyone is we complained a few years ago of what was going on. We complained with other, say, political regimes or whatever, right? And then he said, and now that we've come into this time, now we realize how good we had it then. Okay, so it is that kind of general appreciation daily. There's many positive things you can find going on right now. Many positive things that are going on right now. But again, some of us are not habituated to noticing that, and we just notice the negative. And again, can you limit what you're looking at online? Because there's a lot of garbage out there. There's a lot of stuff that's not true. And the good stuff doesn't get much airtime. But you can have, like I have some things on my phone of and I've also limited, and I was offline in the past year for about 4 to 5 months. I was on retreat. And it was a retreat that I decided I'm going to be offline. Partly, I had to be offline because our Wi-Fi, there's actually Wi-Fi, I forgot to mention. There's Wi-Fi at Laudo now. When I said the lap of luxury, this retreat center used to be so primitive, is very luxurious now, and they have Wi-Fi. But it's very good for the 4 people that live there. It's helpful for them. And now I can talk to Rinpoche's sister more regularly via WhatsApp and things like that because they have Wi-Fi. But on retreat, I'm not on those things. And then it got interrupted anyway because there was a terrible flood up there. So we lost power and we lost all of that. And I a little bit felt guilty because I thought I had jinxed it because I didn't want the Wi-Fi and all that during my retreat because you get tempted to look at it. And so then I was kind of happy that we didn't have the power and the electricity. Without that, it made it kind of like the old days at Laudo. It was a very special place when it was like that. And you didn't even have light in your room, and you had a little candle or something like that. So it kind of reminded me of those days, and we had that for a few weeks. So these are things that please habituate your mind with trying to find positive things every day. There's joy and kindness we can practice, and people resonate with that right away. People resonate. You know, I travel all over the world, and when I'm in airports and I'm in a cafe, and people so respond to kindness and compassion. And if it's coming from me, a smile. And I've seen, you know, I'll be at airports and I see a little kid looking over at me like I'm a freak. Like what, you know, and I see they want to kind of say like, Mommy, you know, Mommy, she doesn't have any hair. Like, what's, you know, I see people looking at me like I'm having chemo. You know, thank God I'm not. And I know some people that are. And so they'll first look with the kind of pity eyes, and I see, and then if you smile, it just totally disarms. It's hard for them not to smile back. If I genuinely smile, and you know, and then you're less threatening, and you're like that. So there's so many people, and just that little bit of kindness that can show you. So yesterday I was on the New York subway, and I noticed, and there was a very crowded car. And when I got on, there were 2 people taking up 4 seats. So the woman was sideways, kind of, you know, and then the guy was spread out, and I wanted to sit down. So I was carrying like packages and stuff. So I went to the other side of him because I thought they were together, and I said, "Excuse me," you know, and kind of turned around like I was going to sit down, and then he wasn't very happy with that, and he looked at her, and she looked at him, and then she said to him, "Move over," like you know, and she moved over, and then I sat down, and then he decided that he was going to try to harass me. You know, with elbows, and he was really, and I just didn't respond, but in my mind, because I also didn't know if he was on drugs, and I didn't know if he had a gun, you know, I didn't, like, you know, in the New York subway, everything's happening there. But again, your presence of mind, I'm not any great practitioner, but I'm just saying, first I noticed a little bit of fear, where all of a sudden I went, oh, like maybe I shouldn't have asked him to move over. You know, there are some people in the New York subway, you don't ask them to move over. You just accept that they're taking up the whole seat. Okay, but somehow I didn't really think about it. I just saw him like everyone else. I didn't like single him out like gang member or whatever he was. I don't know, you know. And so then I noticed a little bit, and I could see people looking at him, and she had a little dog in her arms, and he was kind of torturing the little dog while I sat. I mean, it was kind of really, this poor, you know, and I could see people looking across the aisle at him, and, you know, and so then I thought, okay, I don't want to look at him. I don't want to create any more hostility, whatever. And then I thought, you know, I just need to send him love. Like, if he is on drugs, or he's struggling, or who knows what's going on for him, but I'm just going to be calm. I don't need to engage him and make eye contact, but you can send from your heart the 4 immeasurables. Just write it over. So he, every once in a while, would try to do something with me, to get a rise, to get something for me to say, excuse me, you just poked me. But none of that happened. I was going to make sure, but I also noticed, and this was unusual for me, I wasn't disturbed. Like once a little bit of fear went, I wasn't really disturbed. I was just kind of like trying to hold that space with kindness and compassion for myself, for him, and then he had his kind of thing, and then they got off at one of the stops. Just got off and it was over, and But I've also seen where you're around people and somebody escalates it. Somebody gets anxious, mainly because it comes from fear. But then what happens is anger comes out as fear's bodyguard. I need to protect myself, so something's wrong with you. And then you go, can you move over? And it could be a tone of voice, stop bothering the dog, like what's wrong with you? And then this happens. And it can get dangerous. So see, from our meditation practice, if you're patterned every day, there's a calmness, or I come back from work, I'm out of work, or I just had a hostile thing with somebody in a shop, but there's my meditation practice, there's my space, my safe space. And you put your favorite shawl there. And this season especially, and you wrap yourself up in it because it's a little colder, right? If it's summertime and you're hot, you sit in your space, and maybe you have your nice cool drink with you there. Make it pleasant for yourself, and you got your nice flowers, and you set it up in a nice way. You get some ideas from this altar. It's beautiful. Make it beautiful and conducive. But again, you can keep it simple. You can keep it simple, but be practical but use that space. So you come in and you had a conflict with somebody. We use that time. I'm going to sit there for a minute. I'm going to relax. And that part is really important. That first 10 minutes of it, right? I'm relaxing and I'm just letting all the thoughts simmer down, and that's following your breath. I'm just letting them go, And I might choose to follow one that keeps coming up, but right now I'm just going to let it go and let it go and let it go. But now I notice this one's really dominant, but this has been like 10 minutes of that. So I'm already now calmer. I'm more spacious. You check. Some of you are already doing this, right? Works? It works, yeah. Definitely works, okay? And then what happens is, let's say after 10 minutes, okay, I'm going to pull that dominant thought that keeps coming up, okay? And I had this thing once, the guy at work. There was this guy, and I mentioned this before, and I was the new person in a 30-person staff, the newest hire, and now I learned quickly I had to do a project with this guy that was big and scary, and I heard him raising his voice with other people, yelling at other people, things like this. Now I had to do this project with him. I wasn't happy about that. He's scary. So then I could analyze. I go back and I go, it's him. This is a problem, this is a problem, this is a problem. Go back. So now a little bit on my cushion, I need to analyze him and these thoughts about him. Well, look, isn't it interesting? All the thoughts I'm having about him are negative. That's what that stuff does. That's true. Sometimes it's like that. All the thoughts I'm having about him are negative. Okay. Are they accurate? Is he all those negative things I'm layering on him? So I want to check that a little bit in meditation. So I'm going to pull through the thoughts, go through them. Well, he is kind of large stature. When I said he's big and scary, like he was big, like that. His voice is loud. I hear him say a lot of negative things to people in the office, and then I notice other things. But I noticed his department, 3 people worked for him. I have heard him say some very nice things to them. I have heard that, and they seem to like him. So this is all more analytical meditation. Sifting through, you want to get the story, right, the design out there a little bit more accurate than what initially my delusion is presenting to me. And until you have a direct perception of emptiness, what's being presented is always inaccurate. Your story is always wrong. Okay? But we have a perception of it. We have a valid perspective of it. Okay? So this is slowly you using your meditative space. I'm looking a little bit. This is like 5 or 10 minutes. So then I go, well, everything I've thought about him is really negative, and that's really unfortunate, and it makes me really uncomfortable to have to do this meeting. Is there another side? Anything positive about him? This is all in my meditation. Is there anything positive about him? Yes, I have heard him saying positive things to the people that work for him. And he seemed to encourage them a lot. That's a good boss. And I've actually heard him instructing them, how to do stuff better. And they kind of liked that and responded. That's smart. He seems to be a good teacher, right? Good manager in his department. And I heard him sometimes fighting for his people for budget-wise, wanting to give one a raise, and that's impressive, right? And then there were several other things I listed that were positive about him that I could see, okay? But that takes time. That takes my meditation time to kind of go in carefully, and what happens is you don't want to look at that person because initially they're big and scary. So you peel back the layers, and there's just another person there, just like you, who wants to be happy and doesn't want to suffer, who is Buddha nature. And there's just a person there, just like you, who wants to be happy and doesn't want to suffer. It's just like you, okay? Who seems to have happiness missing from their lives at times, and who seems to meet with suffering again and again, just like us. So slowly that big scary person shrinks a bit and becomes kind of, I could probably go out and have an ice cream cone with them and enjoy the time with them, right? Especially if it's Van Leeuwen. Are you familiar with Van Leeuwen ice cream? No? Okay. I don't know if they have that in North Carolina. I hope that's a projection you can get here. I just discovered, this is a new discovery. I'm a big ice cream person. No, I don't eat much ice cream anymore, but used to be one of my favorite foods. But I was on retreat at one of our centers in France when I discovered Van Leeuwen ice cream. It's so funny. I was doing nungnes. Some of you are familiar with nungnes. Our center they're doing them now there. They do 108 a year, led by a beautiful French monk. And I had the good fortune on my way home from Asia I thought, let me get a few more nungnes in if I can, because they're all set up there. And I went there, and so our little nungne group, there was just 10 to 13 people or 10 to 15 people for each nungne. I was able to do several in a row. And every other day you talk and eat. And the other days you're in silence and you don't eat, right? So the eating days we would join in one little room, so we would have lunch together and share. And I met a couple people from France, a couple that worked in London, another French guy, and different people, a Dutch guy. So we would discuss, and the woman that is French Brazilian and works in London works in the ice cream industry. Can you imagine? She's like a senior executive. And so then she said to me, and we were talking about ice cream, different types of ice cream, and then she said to me, oh, you're in the States, well, the best ice cream there is Van Leeuwen. And I went, I'd never heard of it. I said, excuse me? Breyers? I'm from Philadelphia. Breyers is, people like Haagen-Dazs. And then she told me the breakdowns of all these ice creams. Haagen-Dazs isn't very good, she said. No, she goes, not made with the purest ingredients of what, I went, it tastes good. It was really, she had the inside scoop of really preservatives, skim milk, powdered concentrate. I had no idea. She'd never heard of Breyers, so I got her turned on to that. But Van Leeuwen, so I said, what? She goes, oh, that's the one in the States. I'm like, huh? So then, nice Philadelphia girl myself, I come home and I have to go downtown Philadelphia. Sorry I'm on this tangent, but downtown Philadelphia to do some medical appointments. And it's freezing cold anyway. I'm walking down the street, and what is there on the corner? A Van Leeuwen ice cream shop on the corner right in front. I was like, oh my God, somehow it's manifested. This is my mind, created this. Came from my mind, okay? But just such a funny coincidence of meeting her. I wouldn't have even seen it on the corner. I wouldn't have even noticed, I don't think. And, it's delicious. It's delicious. Pure and creamy and whatever. So again, please, you have to look at that it deflects all that negativity of somebody, And when it is unpleasant and uncomfortable, that person that you're encountering, again, how far do you want it to drive you into negativity, constant criticism from your mouth coming out? You're vomiting your opinions all over everybody else. Are they interested? Do they agree with you? Do you have any ability to listen to them, to hear them? What they're saying? No, but we're just marching these things out. This is bad, this is bad, this is bad. Right? And that's what creates a habit in your mind of that. Okay? And then what happens is you're so far toppled over. How big is the space in your mind that I'm here to show up for my mind, to work on a path to get enlightened, to benefit all living beings? How far is that working for you in those moments? So we'll keep talking about this. What do I do? How do I take positive action? How do I manifest that? How do I set myself up for that? And for me, it all starts with that meditation practice. I can't say it enough. Is some sort of stillness, quiet stillness in your life, in your mind. We don't have that a lot in our culture. Create it for yourself. You can do it anywhere. Okay? I've meditated on Indian trains. It's possible. You just a little internal. Manhattan is a great place to meditate, believe it or not. New York City. I mean, it's got a lot going on, but you can come back to your little room, quiet, whatever. Is it too noisy outside? Put earplugs in then. Use earplugs. I use them all the time, depending on where I am, like that. So slowly, but it's this little stillness of, oh, I was just out there and I really was not happy with myself of the way I was just acting. Wow. Come back. This is where I'm going to do my work. So what happened? What happened? You look at your mind. You know what happened? Is every time I'm around that negative person, there's one person in my life, when they show up, I'm not very balanced. And I'm not comfortable around them, and then I say the wrong thing. Okay? So this is not about cutting a family member out of your life. Because we have these stressors all the time. We have people in our lives. We don't always agree with them. We don't, but they're going to be there. They're going to show up because this is samsara. Okay? It's a broken situation. So you don't cut those people out of your lives, but I can reduce the amount of time I spend with them sometimes. And I can set that situation up of the spending time with them to make sure that I'm in a good place when we do it. Right? That I have the right people around me when we do it. That I drove myself there so I can leave whenever I want. That it's not the loud, noisy restaurant with the terrible waiters or something that we're meeting that they like to go to, that we found a place that we both enjoy going to. So, and you can set all those situations up slowly just to make sure that it's a little bit more positive, and you can direct a little bit of the conversation in a way that you'd like. You can change subjects if they're going down a street that you're not comfortable with. You could even maybe directly but gently, depending on your relationship with them, say to them, I'm not really comfortable with what we're talking about right now. Can we talk about something else? Right? Or you can interrupt the conversation by getting up and going to the bathroom if it's not going well, or if they're attacking you. That. But again, can you keep the motivation, the bigger motivation in play? That there's certain people that we meet with, there's certain people we spend time with, we're not overly comfortable with, but I'm doing it. Part of our duty in life, sometimes we do it, it's a family gathering or whatever, or this person has nobody else, I'll spend some time. Why? Because I think it's beneficial, it may help my path to enlightenment so I can benefit all living beings. For that purpose, I'm going to get together with them now, or I'm going to join this party or join this family gathering. Okay, and then you choose how long you do it or who else you speak to there, like that. And we gently go along with compassion, considering the other person's situation. Are we communicating? Make sense? Wait, how long do we go tonight? 9 o'clock. Okay, great. Okay, let's come back to, and we're going to say more and more about and do other meditations and self-compassion. Let's look at this a little bit. And I want to give you an exercise right now. I think we've done this before in here. Self-compassion. So there are several books written about this in the States. A couple of the foremost people that I've read some of their books, Kristen Neff is a psychologist. Some of you have heard of her. And she is mentioned in a beautiful book I highly recommend. It came out a few years ago called A Fearless Heart. A Fearless Heart. Some of you have read it by Thupten Jinpa. So Thupten Jinpa is His Holiness the Dalai Lama's interpreter when His Holiness teaches in the West, in Western countries. That doesn't happen very much anymore now that His Holiness is older. But Jinpa was a monk for many years. I believe he got his Geshe degree, a PhD equivalent. He then gave back his robes, married, has a couple of daughters, I think, that are grown or near grown, and he's a professor at McGill University. And he's written many books, and he's a great scholar, and he's just a great guy. He's a wonderful guy. So he wrote this book, A Fearless Heart. He has a Compassion Institute out of Stanford University. I think they made some sort of program where he runs this kind of compassion program you can look at online. So he quotes Kristen Neff in his book, A Fearless Heart, and she's a psychologist in the States who teaches a lot of self-compassion and has a website and a lot of meditations and things like that, and I recommend. Another person is Christopher Germer, Germer, who's also written a lot of books somewhat similar to her, and there's many other people. So I just want to give you Kristen Neff's A Self-Compassion Break. This is super easy. We need to be doing this nowadays, as well as a meditation practice, but these are just some quick ways to show up for your mind when your mind is going downhill. Okay, rather than getting into the blah, blah, blaming someone externally, it's him and it's this regime and that person's an idiot and they're stupid and like that, you get a little presence of mind. So what she does is she has a self-compassion break. You want to give yourself a break when you're really struggling with your mind or something external. Self-compassion break starts, and she breaks it up into 3 different categories. You can use mindfulness to help yourself. You can use shared humanity, or I'll call it common humanity. And the third one is loving kindness. Beautiful way to do it. Mindfulness is like this. Okay, you are reading some news story online. You have a strong reaction against it. This thing, whatever. Strong reaction about it, right? And maybe you're there at home with your partner and you want to, and then you call into the next room. So now you missed a thing. You missed first thinking about what they're doing. Maybe they're reading in a chair. Maybe they're upstairs doing their meditation practice, and then you start like, did you see this thing on? Okay, whatever it is, right? So I didn't consider what's their experience. They might be in a nice space right now, and okay? So before we react like that, right, let's just think about the bodhicitta motivation. I'm just adding that in, the bodhicitta motivation. If you're around anyone else, like, have a look over at them. What kind of space do I think they're in right now before and then I might say, can I talk to you for a second? Are you doing so? You in something? Okay. And then think about your tone, the tone that this stuff comes out of us. Think about the words you use, all that. It's a huge factor. So this requires mindfulness, basic mindfulness. That's her first technique, mindfulness. But the way she does it with her self-compassion break is this. Story turns up on your device, you look at something, and you are like, and there's been a lot of stories like that of late, right? A lot of things you can have your mouth agape, okay? I have to say there was one thing. So as we know, we have a new health secretary, correct? Okay, who was just confirmed. There was a lot of reaction to him, back and forth and all that. Okay. So I read some of his stuff of what he was believing in, okay? I can't say that I agreed with a lot of it, okay? But then I saw a thing that popped up that I found interesting. I don't know your thoughts on this. That he felt that what he'd like to do is to try to get pharmaceuticals from advertising on television. I found that I agreed with that. I was like, it's illegal in Europe for pharmaceuticals to advertise on TV. And I think in a lot of European countries, I know in England, they're not allowed to do it, right? So, and think about what it does to our healthcare system. And just think of the process. Now, people may disagree with me, but when I noticed, and I noticed this years ago with my parents, they'd watch and they go, oh, look at that medication. And they go into the doctor and demand, I want that, because I saw it on TV. I want that, even though it lists all the horrible side effects of that medication. But instead of dealing with diet and exercise and some more healthier things, I want that thing, and then I can just be lazy and let it take care of the stuff, even though it's got these horrible side effects. But we were controlling, I want that. But in Europe and the UK, you go, and the doctor's the one who prescribes what they think you ought to do. And a lot of times it's diet and exercise. That is medicine, by the way. I mean, it should be put in a prescription bottle. Diet, 10 reps of this and 7, because it is as good as medicine. It is really a medicine, but we kind of have to make it, you have to make an effort. To make an effort. And you've junked your body up for so many years not worrying about diet, and it's hard to kind of have to then restrict yourself. But it's interesting. So this is the thing, and the thing is, I've returned back to the States, and I was at my brother's the other night watching TV. I don't look at a lot of TV. Okay, we did have a football team win in Philadelphia, so I had no choice. My family, got me in, go Birds, okay? So I couldn't help myself. You live in Philadelphia. So I was but they had the TV on, and I was stunned by how many pharmaceutical commercials. It used to just be that, like the 1-hour news slot when my parents watched, but no, it's all the time now. They're the only ones who have money to advertise. It's just continual. It was just one after another after another. I was like, no wonder we're sick. No wonder we're sick. It's like, get the blue pill. No, you want that pill. And, that was scary. So then I kind of went, well, there's a positive thing. He wants to take pharmaceutical ads off TV. So do I. Like, you can find, there can be some interesting things that emerge, or you can just say things could get so bad that then it changes again. We've had bad times in the world before. This is not something new. But there's things we didn't live through to know, or we don't remember that we lived through. The Crusades. That was, the stuff, have you ever read about the Crusades? That was a horrible time. Horrible time. What do they call it? The Great Plague in Europe. COVID, the Great Plague wiped out half of Europe. That must have been an extraordinary time. Like that. So again, this is the cycle of samsara. This is how it goes, up and down and up and down. Like that. So use that kind of stuff. Can you drive it into renunciation, building renunciation for yourself? Okay, and what's renunciation? What's renunciation? Anybody? I mean, we're on the Buddhist path. What is renunciation? It's the first principle of the path. What's your view of renunciation? We know this word, right?
The determination to get out of samsara.
Yes, with it driving everything you do. I mean, when you really have realized it, you're spending every moment to get out of samsara. Okay? But what's kind of the crux of it? What's the crux of renunciation? When you think of renunciation, what do you think of? Anybody? Removing attachments. Yeah, and so you're getting rid of something, right? You're giving something up, would you say? Giving something up. You're saying giving up attachment. Absolutely. Giving up attachment. What are you really giving up? What's the bait? It's so fundamental. Renunciation, you're giving up your suffering. You're giving up you're choosing, you're saying enough. We suffer. So you say, I don't like what's going on right now. Take care of your mind, and the external will change. Perfect your mind, and the external will change. I guarantee it. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. So the real crux of renunciation is you're giving up your suffering. I'll give you an example. Many years ago, before I was a nun, I had relationships. I had a boyfriend at one point, and this one pattern I did in relationships over and over and over. I always got a little bit better with each, but you make mistakes, and if you remember before you were married or something, when you went out with this person, then you did that for a while, and then you broke up and you went to another person, and so I was with this person, this man, and the same pattern came up that caused so much suffering for me and him that I had in other relationships. But it kind of got to an extreme, and then in the middle of this fight we had, like that, it wasn't just from my side, his side, you have your couples thing, but then I noticed this pattern, and then in the middle of it, it got so bad, we had this big fight, and then he left. He was at my apartment, but he actually left, and I thought, I didn't think he'd really leave. And then I remember I ran to the window in the middle of this thinking, he's not, and he ran down the steps, and I looked out the window and I saw him driving away. And somehow it really leveled me. I was really stunned by, just the whole way it happened. And then I made this determination right then in my mind. But it was more dramatic than that, and it was such a heavy thing. And all of a sudden I had this huge thing leapt out of me. And then I just said in my mind, I'm never doing relationship like this again. I'm never going to make that mistake. Like, I gave up that mistake. I gave up that suffering. I cannot do this anymore. It's too much. It's too much. I can't do, but it was so strong in me, and I never did that pattern again. It just ended. It was over. And I was conscious, and I'd watch myself get into it, and I went, no, we're not going there again. That's over. That's a form of renunciation, where you get so much suffering, and then you go, I can't do this anymore. Can't do this anymore. And the real realization of it is where you strive day and night to get out of samsara. So you're really committed to your practice, studying, some retreats, whatever that means to you, whatever you can put together to keep the mind buoyant, spacious, happy, moving along with study, exercises, practices, meditation, all headed to that beautiful Buddhahood with a good motivation, like that. So back to Kristen Neff and the mindfulness exercise. So she starts with so stuff in samsara is going to show up. And it stinks, okay? And stuff will show up. And what happens is we get into a thing where we want to fix it. And you see somebody else suffering, and I want to fix them, or I want to fix the problem. But with basic mindfulness, it's not about fixing anything. It's just about noticing, being aware. So I read the story, I get alarmed, I go, oh my God, this happened, the plane crashed, another, I just couldn't believe the plane that landed upside down. That was like another, because there's all these plane crashes recently, right? Somebody just said to me, yeah, because we don't need FAA employees anymore, let's cut them, right? And then we don't need it, doesn't matter, right? So, but you're showing up and you're seeing something, you're noticing your alarm, you're noticing reactivity in your mind, you're noticing criticism, negativity, any of that. We have that, sure, right? I'm just going to be there with it and notice it. Mindfulness. In the beginning, I could be in a meditation space, I could be at a work meeting, and the guy across the table is really irritating me, or you're in a Zoom meeting, and you're just there, you are in your squares, no problem, right? And I notice like the person just opened their mouth and said something, and I have a really strong reaction against that. And I'm just going to notice it. Mindfulness just takes you there, right? And you can even have some words about it in your mind. You can have words about it in your mind. For instance, and when you do this mindfulness, this self-compassion break, it's nice to kind of do it in meditation so that I notice the reaction, the response, or I notice earlier in the day, I was really toppled by this person that bumped into me in the store and they were so rude, or the guy on the subway, like I noticed it was a little scary, what could have been, whatever, and I notice, and I come back to my meditation thing and I just notice This is a moment of suffering. That's all, and I could say it again. This is a moment of suffering, right? You could even be in front of somebody, noticing reactivity. I'm having a lot of discomfort right now. That's all. I'm not going to fix it. I don't have to move it. I'm just having a lot of discomfort right now in my mind. Wow. That. You can say it again and again, and I'm just going to stay there with it. And that's all. Mindfulness. You could say, this sucks. This sucks. Boy, does it suck. And whatever, put it in your own words. But that's all it is. This is a moment of suffering. I'm really uncomfortable right now. But what happens is we don't just allow ourselves to stay there. We've got to move out of it. I've got to fix it. I don't want to, there's always action. There's always, and it's also agitation. We don't look at like that I'm just there. I'm just going to be there. Because this is samsara's nature. Samsara sucks, by the way. It's uncomfortable. Right? But the problem with us in our world system here, meaning the people in this room and on Zoom, right, is we have an incredible level of comfort in samsara. Oh my God, I lie down every night in a bed with my pillows and wonderful. Even I could say my airplane seat, comfortable, clean, relatively clean. Okay, they talk about all the MRSA germs on the seat back. All right, whatever. I didn't see them, but whatever. Okay. But again, we have relative comfort. We go to the store, there's clean food to eat. We look at it's wonderful what we've got. Beautiful homes, clean bathrooms, whatever the thing is. It's like so it deceives us. And we keep thinking, if I just do this, samsara is going to be perfect. That I'll be happy in samsara. You will never be happy in samsara. Never long term. It's not possible. It's not its nature. Okay, so that's what, it's very hard. If you're carrying bricks on your head in India, in hot India, in the summer all day, less deception about samsara. Like that. Just life is a slog all the time. Like that. Okay, so it's just basic mindfulness. We show up. This is its nature. And then when you see samsara's nature pops up stronger and stronger, then use it to build your renunciation. Use it to deepen your practice then. Know that you can get out of samsara permanently. You can get out of samsara permanently. It's a state of mind. Nirvana or liberation, it's a state of mind where it is a permanent ending of all your mental afflictions. That's nirvana. That's great. It doesn't mean you're enlightened yet, but that's a huge step along the path. So have the wherewithal that I want to get to that place. I know I can get out of samsara, but it's going to take effort. So why not drive your effort in that direction? Because you make effort in all other directions. I know that. Because I know myself, right? So use it something constructively to build, to do that study program you wanted to do. Show up for that class that night. Do the weekend retreat. Read the book you said you were going to read, right? Instead of playing with the puzzles on your phone or the other stuff that you get involved in, right? And you try your best, maybe not every day, but you try, a little bit, deepen something, add on a little bit more. We have to do it. The planet needs us to do it. If you're in this room, if you're on the Zoom room, people really need it. They don't have the tools. I think about outside of Dharma, and you look at what's going on right now, like, wow, what are people using to deal with it? So they're raging against each other. That's not helpful. That's not helpful. Okay, so we can do this. We have every perfect tool. The gem is there. It's amazing. So that's basic mindfulness. You're just there going on. Okay? And then I just had this, right before the plane took off in Philadelphia, my cousin in New York, in the Bronx in New York, was texting me. So we had these messages back and forth. So she's a religious Jew, and she grew up in Israel. She now lives in New York with 3 kids, young kids, and her husband. And So all that's been going on in Israel has really alarmed her and I have many family members over there. Okay. But so there's Israel, and you might call it Palestine, whatever, and there's Gaza. Okay. And so for me, the same thing's happening on both sides. People have been killed, and they've been killed in horrible ways on both sides. Okay. But when you talk to Gazans, they just tell you about one side. And when you talk to Israelis, they just tell you about the one side. It's all about the hostages. And, so it's just, and His Holiness once said about the Middle East, the karma's so strong, sometimes you just have to wait for it to burn out. Like, it's just one, it's a really volatile thing. So she was texting, and then this recent tragic thing you may have read in the news where they returned 4 people dead, 4 bodies, because Israel likes to get the bodies back as well. It's very valuable to them to finish and bury them. And it was very sad because there were 2 kids, 2 babies returned dead, and there's a whole thing, but this controversy. So anyway, we were back and forth about that, and she was, and I thought it was tragic too, just like her. I thought, both of us were tragic, and then we kind of got off that because I didn't want to go too far into that thing, and then we just talked about what we can do. And I just said, but she goes, and she's really loses sleep over it. And most of my family in Israel, they, I don't know what it's like to live in Israel with that, or Gaza. I don't live in a war-torn country like that. So they're not sleeping. And my one cousin just kept saying, she can't imagine if her kids were kept in tunnels there, as hostages. She couldn't imagine that. And the other side of the bombs happening, and losing your whole family, things like that. So then I said to my cousin, then you just enjoy your babies, your kids. Now that you're in a place that's safe, that's calm, that you don't have bombs, and you take care of your kids, and you do the best, and you just revel at their moments growing up. They're little kids, and they're beautiful kids. She has a beautiful family. And I said, then you enjoy what you can with your family while you keep all those other people in your heart. And think about dedicating and sending out to them, all these other people, all that goodness that you enjoy. Just visualize it. Just imagine it, right? Regardless of which side they're on, but that will never experience what you're experiencing. So we just can send that out to them. And she liked that. She goes, that's what I try to do, and just pray for them, and we can dedicate to them people that will never experience a peaceful situation, and just that they can enjoy watching their kids grow up. And the worst thing that'll happen to their kids is her kids just got the flu and now they're better, but that was like one of the worst things could happen is they get the flu and like that. So then she said that, and then I said, and then this, and trying to send this out to the world, and trying to be kind to all the people that we meet, regardless, trying to be kind and compassionate. And then I said to her, and what else can you do? And she said, that's right. So is then letting it go. How are you doing with that? Letting it go. So we're going to take action to do the best we can, to do the most we can, and then let it go. Instead of the obsessive guilt or obsessive anger, the obsessive habit in our mind of something else, right? So we just try our best, like that. So that was just, number 1 was just that mindfulness. Number 2, Kristen Neff's exercise. Number 2. We'll do some of this also tomorrow, but try to think about this tonight and tomorrow morning when you wake up. Shared humanity or common humanity. Giving yourself, again, a self-compassion break, okay? So suffering comes up in all its different forms, because this is samsara, right? Suffering comes up, and then this is what it says to you normally. This is what the normal condition is, like, I've heard so many people recently, of different friends, of different students, different people. I'm the only one going through this. Many times I'm the only, I've met people depressed, panic attacks with incredible anxiety, people who lost their partner of many, many years, people whose kid is struggling. Now, you're going to take care of what you need to take care of with those people, but there's people that have this over-exaggeration of themselves, so they're the only ones going through it. Really? On this big world, you're the only one experiencing depression? You're the only one whose kid is bipolar? You're the only one whose 15-year-old dog died? The only one that, over and over and over, the only one that's having a problem with this, or the only one that has this kind of illness, or shared humanity. This is happening for me right now. It's very strong, hopefully not an illness, but people get ill, they lose their job, partner quits, partner dies, whatever goes on, these things. Take a moment, you're meditating, relax in your space. There's so many other people on the planet that are experiencing the same thing. You can think that over and over. There are so many people on the planet going through the same thing. And you can add so many people on the planet that are going through the same thing with less ability to deal with it, less resources, that don't have the Dharma. And there's so many people on the planet that have it so much worse than what I'm going through. Again, bodhicitta expands your heart and mind. Can we consider others? Can I consider others, please? What's their experience? Okay? And it starts shrinking your problem. Oh, there's other people. It's other people. I've had friends going through chemo, and they're sitting in a room with other people getting chemo around them. And they're all focused on the other people. And their whole experience is very different than the one in the corner of oh, woe is me. Why did I have to get cancer? This is horrible. Everything bad happens to me. I'm the only one going through this. Totally different experience. It's your mind. It's your mind and how you show up for your mind. Make sense? So that's shared or common humanity. Please work with that one. Think about that one in your life. The third one, loving kindness. Very obvious. Loving kindness. Loving kindness. And again, when you do these meditations, if you give yourself, suddenly something's happening to you, you're getting toppled. That's a trigger for me. Oh, self-compassion break. Make it so it's like that, self-compassion break. Call it what you want to call it. Make it into your own words, but I'll have a little, sometimes I even put my hand on my heart. Whoa, this is strong right now. There's my mindfulness. Okay, whoa. This is what's showing up right now. This sucks. This is strong. Okay. And I'm just going to hang there with it. That's mindfulness. Basic mindfulness. I'm just going to hang there with it for a little bit. And the reason is, it's uncomfortable, but the longer I be with discomfort, the more familiar I get with discomfort, and it becomes more comfortable. Really. We push it away. Oh, I don't want any suffering in my life. It's going to show up. So if you get used to it and you go, well, samsara is nature, and sometimes there's little suffering. I know sometimes there's bigger suffering. If you get used to the little sufferings, you get better with that, you'll better be able to handle the bigger sufferings. But then I'll have that, so slowly, quietly, put it into your own words. Shared humanity. Wow. This is a huge thing I'm going through right now. But there's so many other people going through this. Worse than this. Worse than this. I can't imagine what their experience is. Then suddenly takes me out of my sitting in the mind. Me. I'm going through this. I'm going through this. Why is this happening to me? This always happens to me. Victim. You don't have to be a victim. Can be a hero, heroine, that. And then loving kindness, response. And my self-compassion break for a moment. You're going through something, struggling, it's really harsh, really difficult. I just stop for a moment. Okay. What do I need to do for myself right now that is kind? And you can say another expression. What kind thing can I show to myself right now? What kind thing can I say to myself internally? What kind thing can I do for myself right now? And often I just find just put my hand here, I care about myself. But whatever it is, just think about, what do I need to do for my, I just need to take a time out. I need to be quiet right now. I need to not open my mouth in the meeting. I need to buy somebody flowers. I need to go get an ice cream. I need whatever kind thing, and then figure out how to do that thing. How to say those words that may not be natural to you. Loving kindness. So I'm going to stop there. Questions, comments? And anybody online, too.
Yeah, and if you're in the Gampo, we've got microphones so that folks online can hear. If you are on Zoom, excuse me, just unmute or raise your hand.
But am I making sense? And this is really important. I mean, this is what if we're in this room, we have to start doing this now. Some of you are already doing it, you're great. But just in general, this is about mindfulness, and it's about self-compassion, and then meditation techniques. So we have to start doing this. And we want to get really skilled at it and really good that this is what we reach for when all this other stuff's happening. This becomes automatic to you, shows up. And then the thing is, you become an example. And people start going, well, that's a great idea, or you seem pretty kind and buoyant, and I'm like, that's what you want to be. And then and then they want what you have. And that's going to start giving them, they're going to start looking for more loving kindness and realizing that's the path, and a little bit more taking care of their minds, not vomiting it out all over everybody else, all their pain and suffering and things like that, right? It's just, and this is just basic, practical Tibetan Buddhism. But we really have to do it. We really have to get the practice going right now and get something that's really sustainable. Because we're lazy too, right? Aren't we? We're lazy. We're glommed into so many mindless things. Like that, so many useless things that we do like that really don't help us deal and balance our minds. So any questions? Yes, Andre.
Yeah, I was just thinking when we were talking about renunciation, and I can't really recall the name of Lama Yeshe's book, but it's something about when there's no more chocolate, or when
the chocolate runs out.
Yeah, when the chocolate runs out.
So depressing when the chocolate runs out.
Yeah.
When there's no more Van Leeuwen.
Right, yeah. I
Yes.
remember reading, he said that the problem is not the chocolate. We're not renunciating the chocolate, but we're renunciating the attachment to the chocolate. And I think
Yes.
that really helps with renunciation, because nobody wants to give up, right? Stuff, right? But when you
Yep.
realize that it's the attachment to it that's the problem.
That's right. Absolutely. And that's the thing, is one of the three poisons, attachment, also attachment, ignorance, anger. Attachment is really, really heavy one. And that's the thing, and we mistake something else and go, oh no, it's not attachment, but it's really healthy to look at your attachment. Look at what you're attached to. We're certainly attached to people in our lives. That's the big one. But we're attached to stuff as well. I'm attached to a 70-year-old house that I live in right now, that has been our family that my parents bought years ago, and that I'm currently based in part of the year. And my family were very attached to that house. And then, I was joking I was with Venerable Rubina yesterday, and we were joking, and I went, yeah, and like, what is it? It's bricks, and it's some wood, and like paint, and like nothing there, really. Nothing there, but it's amazing how the mind, and the memories, we create more attachment, and when you're done with that stuff, you're so free. You're so free, so much freer, but we hang on for so long to things. And my sister, even regarding mundane stuff, she said to me, when somebody gives you a gift or a special card, and as you get older, you're peeling off those things pretty quickly, like getting, and she said to me, okay, well, I'm going to put this in the regifting drawer quickly, or give it away to somebody right away, because she goes, the longer it sits in the house, the attachment grows from it. It's like moss comes, seeping out, and suddenly like, well, that little jar, I never liked it in the beginning, but now it's been there for two years, so That's what's always in the corner, but you know, so it's interesting to look at that stuff and just pare away, peel back as quickly as you can. Like that can be helpful. Yes, Mark, right? Yes, amazing. Great to see you.
Is that, okay. So I guess I had a lot of trouble early on with self-compassion. I still have trouble with self-compassion. Because as I've noticed things flowing in my life, the attachment to self seems to be what causes me to suffer, right? Mm-hmm. And so the way I see it is kind of like if I can sever the attachment to self, then I can be free of suffering.
Well, there's a balance. So when I say self-compassion, and this isn't normally Rinpoche's teaching, he doesn't use those words, okay? But we had titled this, you know, the course is so when I'm talking about self-compassion, it's within balance. It's not without bodhicitta to think about, you know, and it's not really and a wonderful way to think about it is with emptiness as well. So you're not, you know, with emptiness, we're trying to really understand how the self exists so that we deflect the overinflated notion we have of ourselves, a very concretized notion. But when I talk about these self-compassion techniques, the reason why it's critical for Westerners is we're very, very hard on ourselves and we're very bad to ourselves. A lot of my Asian sisters and brothers don't have that built in the way we do. So we really need kindness towards ourselves. But again, not forgetting a bodhicitta motivation, not forgetting emptiness. So that's what I meant within a balance of it. So, but a lot of people, that's why you're not alone. Many people have issues with self-compassion and don't have any understanding how to be kind to themselves.
Right, but at the same time, what I was looking at is when I'm more concerned about others, and when I have more bodhicitta experience going on, then I find when I look at how I feel about myself, I feel better.
Sure.
So therefore, the compassion to help others results, the karmic imprint, or how it manifests to me is as happiness for myself, or at least less suffering for myself.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But again, we don't want to negate that it's a wonderful thing to notice that, and that is the crux of our happiness is when we're cherishing others. There's no question. And Tibetan Buddhism says that, and all the teachers say that. But what happens for a lot of Western culture is we're still carting around this immense guilt, and I'm no good, and victim personalities, and I never do anything right, and I don't deserve to be loved. And that's pervasive for Western culture, a lot of people that I meet. So we have the idea, the notion of bodhicitta, that's great, and we get it activated, and we do notice there's a lot of happiness for ourselves in that, but until we really spend some time with directing some of it to ourselves too, in a genuine way, it still impedes when we start feeling bad about ourselves. And it seems to be so automatic and so deep in some of us. And so I mentioned this before about Buddhist teachers, some of my friends, we discussed about why this low self-esteem a lot of Westerners have. You know, trashing yourself, it's easy. Like we're very focused on what we do wrong. You know, and when your boss or when you're doing some sort of project or job, and one person might just say one small thing to you. You know what you could do is, I thought you could improve and they really mean it in a very positively constructive way. But we obsess about that for a month and never hear all the good stuff they said about us. That kind of, like they'll say good things and we don't really buy into it. But as soon as I have one little criticism, I obsess for a month about it. So we're so unbalanced that way. And so some of my friends who teach, we discuss like, why do we have that? And my Asian sisters and brothers, Jinpa's book, A Fearless Heart, he talks about it in there. and says that with his parents, when he grew up, and there are Western parents that are like this, it was just good enough that he was alive for them. But my parents, who were wonderful parents, they passed away, but they were wonderful, but there was a real competitive edge to them. If I didn't get the grade on the thing, then there was a problem. And if I didn't get into that club, there was a problem. And if I didn't, and how come she got into the club and you didn't? And how come, and I was like, you're battered around in that of like, I don't know, I thought I was okay. So it's not that Asians don't have a competitive nature, some of them, but Tibetan Sherpa culture, for me, I'm talking about those kind of Asians, very different, quite different of that thing. So some of my friends were saying Judeo-Christian structure, religious structure of, you have a concept of, in the beginning, they have a beginning. We don't have a beginning in Buddhism, but they have a beginning. Something went very, very wrong in the beginning, and it was your fault. That's heavy. That's kind of heavy. You're walking around with guilt all the time, like, I screwed up. Whether it was me intentionally, but like, wow, it was so heavy in the beginning. And then you come to Buddhism, and it's like, you Buddha nature. You might not be a Buddha yet, but you have a quality that can develop into a fully awakened being. And everybody has that, and that's fundamental goodness. You're like, whoa, really? Me? So they're very different slots of that. So we just have to recognize sometimes when the caca view of myself is coming up, and again, you can deal with it with basic mindfulness of like, okay, I'm just noting that, just noticing. Or I can deal with it with shared humanity. Well, a lot of people have this. And then I can go to loving kindness and go, And sometimes loving kindness is that really accurate about myself? That I'm not good? Not good enough? No, that's not accurate. I'm okay. I'm good enough. I'm not perfect and I make mistakes, but I'm good enough. So those are, I find those things can be quite helpful in balancing ourselves for the challenges right now, and challenges always that samsara will present. I don't know, is that helpful, Mark? But it's nice what you said too about, it's wonderful that bodhicitta quality that you realize the byproduct is you're happy. It really does work, bodhicitta. Yeah. Thank you. So let's stop there. And let's take whatever positive energy. I want to thank you so much for turning up, and thanks for the questions. And everybody online okay? Was there any? Sometimes I didn't look online to see, okay. And let's dedicate whatever positive energy we've created, whatever merit we've created from our time together of trying to wake up and trying to think about meditative practices we can do, self-compassion practices, so we can be more balanced and happy, kinder, gentler on ourselves so we may be gentler with others, and may it also help us move along a path to full enlightenment so we can then benefit all living beings perfectly. I'd also like to dedicate to my dear friend Venerable Ingrid, who passed away a few years ago. One of our senior nuns passed away in California a few days ago. And all the other people, another close friend's husband, Harold, who passed away in the 49 days, and all the other people who've passed away within this 49-day period. May they take a precious human rebirth as quickly as possible to get enlightened, to benefit all living beings. For Rinpoche's quick return, for peace in all world systems, and particularly here, and may we find a constructive way to more harmoniously relate to all other beings, kinder, and to also for all of the beings on our planet to have a more positive experience with each other, happier experience, kinder, gentler, like that. Do we have dedication prayers, and can we do Rinpoche's prayer to return?
Yes.
Great.
I'll pull them up for folks online.
And do we have, in the room, do we have the prayers to do? Great.
So page 246 in the Gold
Thank you.
Prayer Book, we'll do Shanti Deva's dedication prayers. Do you want me to lead those, Venerable Amy?
Sure.
So page 246. May all beings everywhere, plagued by sufferings of body and mind, obtain an ocean of happiness and joy by virtue of my merits. May no living creature suffer, commit evil, or ever fall ill. May no one be afraid or belittled with a mind weighed down by depression. May the blind see forms and the deaf hear sounds. May those whose bodies are worn with toil be restored on finding repose. May the naked find clothing, the hungry find food. May the thirsty find water and delicious drinks. May the poor find wealth, those weak with sorrow find joy. May the forlorn find hope, constant happiness and prosperity. May there be timely rains and bountiful harvest. May all medicines be effective and wholesome prayers bear fruit. May all who are sick and ill quickly be freed from their ailments. Whatever diseases there are in the world, may these never occur again. May the frightened cease to be afraid, and those bound be freed. May the powerless find power, and may people think of benefiting each other. For as long as space remains, for as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. And then page 244, we'll do long life prayer for His Holiness the Dalai Lama. In the land encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All-powerful Chenrezig Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until samsara ends.
And do we have the prayer for Lama Zopa Rinpoche's return?
Yes, and that is on the inside back cover of the Gold Prayer Book. Peerless teacher and assembly of the children of the victorious ones, Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas, victorious Losang Father and Sons, along with the lineage masters, all the objects of refuge of the infinite lands, please bestow the virtue and goodness of accomplishing this prayer here and now. Holding and spreading the Muni's precious and complete teachings through explanation and practice, you wore the armor of patience that is never discouraged. Incomparable Venerable Guru, to you I make request. While striving single-pointedly for the sake of the victorious one's teachings, the sole gateway through which all benefit and happiness emerge, and from other living beings you suddenly departed to peace, what a great loss. Nevertheless, through the undeceiving truth of the blessings of the ocean of the three jewels, and the great waves of bodhicitta of the children of the victorious ones, may the smile of a reincarnation swiftly beam in glory for fortunate disciples.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
So
Venerable.
look forward to seeing you tomorrow. And what time do we start?
So tomorrow, Saturday, we start at 10 o'clock and go from 10 o'clock until 12:30. Then we'll break for lunch for an hour and a half and meet back here at 2 and go from 2 until 4. And then on Sunday, we'll have Sunday Dharma teaching with you from 10:30 to 12. And then we'll pick up the last part of the workshop from 1:30 to 4 after a lunch
Okay,
break.
wonderful. Thank you so much, and look forward to seeing you over the weekend.
Thank you, Venerable.
Thank you. So you got your exercises?
All right, thanks everyone online for joining. We'll see everyone back here tomorrow, hopefully.